Gil Martin here, and welcome to the Daily Packers Post, where we bring you in-depth daily coverage of your Green Bay Packers. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you get new episodes as soon as they come out. And don't forget to check out our website at thepackerspost.com. Today, we're going to take a look at the Packers awards as voted on by the editors of thepackerspost.com. These are some superlatives and, guys who we feel are deserving of different awards over the course of the entire season. And we're going to start with the offensive MVP. I don't think this one is all that hard. You got to go, in my opinion, with Josh Jacobs. I mean, Josh Jacobs really made an impact on the Green Bay Packers this season after taking over for Aaron Jones. And, he had one of the all-time best seasons for a running back in Packers history. 1,329 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns, including rushing touchdowns in the final 8 games of the regular season, breaking a record set by the great Paul Hornung all the way back in 1960. Also caught 36 passes out of the backfield for another 342 yards. You're talking about almost 1,700 yards in offense by Josh Jacobs this year. And, he really became, by the end of the season, really even before the end of the season, the catalyst of the Green Bay offense. His ability to run between the tackles and to make people miss and gain more yards than what was obviously available was the biggest impact on the offense this year and the most consistent player on the offense this year. Offensive MVP, Josh Jacobs. For the defensive MVP, we're going to stick with free agents because I think Xavier McKinney has to be the choice for defensive MVP. 8 interceptions, including interceptions in the Packers' first 5 games of the season. And it really got to the point where McKinney was impacting things even when he wasn't making big plays. Why? Because opposing coaches and opposing quarterbacks hesitated to throw the ball in the general direction of Xavier McKinney. They felt like they had to account for McKinney on every play. And again, that's having an impact on the game beyond just the coverage, the interceptions, the number of tackles. And let's face it, both Jacobs and McKinney added some leadership to the Packers, and that's another reason they won offensive and defensive MVP. Those two guys both came from teams that struggled. They wanted to sign with the Packers in order to play playoff football. Obviously, a disappointing playoff game against the Eagles, but overall, these guys were, made the biggest impact on offense and defense on the team. Special teams player of the year. This was not an easy one, but I went with kicker Brandon McManus, making 20 of 21 field goals, making all of his extra points. He was 3 for 3 from 50 yards, field goals and more. And the first 2 games after he joined the Packers, he kicked the game-winning field goal on the final play of the game. Tough to go in any other direction. Yeah, you have Keyshawn Nixon as a really solid kick returner most of the time. Daniel Whelan, I think, was a really good punter, but McManus solved the Packers' kicking problem that went on for about a year and a half. Really, they haven't had consistent kicking since they parted ways with Mason Crosby after the 2022 season. So Brandon McManus, clearly in my mind, the special teams MVP. Rookie of the year, I got to go with second-round draft pick Edgerrin Cooper. Cooper, it's funny because he didn't start a lot of games, only actually started, 4 games this season, played in 14, and yet 87 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7 quarterback hits, 3.5 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, and oh, yes, uh, making an interception as well. And he only played, about half of the defensive snaps. The Packers brought him along slowly. This kid has the potential to be a Pro Bowler. He was twice named NFC Defensive Player of the Week. And I think the sky is the limit. He has speed. He can blitz. He can drop back into coverage and stay with running backs or tight ends. He does a great job of penetrating the line of scrimmage and making plays, on against the run behind the line of scrimmage. I am a big fan of Edgerrin Cooper, and to me, he really was the rookie of the year. As far as the most improved player this year, I had to go with Sean Rhyan, the offensive guard. Rhyan had not started a game yet in his NFL career before this season. This was his third year in the league. His rookie year, he played a grand total of 1 special teams snap, ended the season suspended for PED violations. His second year, he alternated series with the now departed John Runyon Jr. And, he was a good run blocker, but struggled in pass protection. Well, this year, he beats out Jordan Morgan for the starting right guard spot and ended up being a better pass protector than run blocker, but was still a good run blocker. And he gave the offensive line a little more attitude, a little more toughness, a little more in your face kind of an attitude that I think really benefited the team. So most improved player couldn't be a rookie. It wasn't who improved over the course of the season. It was who improved from last year to this year. So I definitely went with Sean Rhyan. Most disappointing player, and I hate to do this because, I'm always rooting for these guys and want to see them do well. But Kenny Clark really, went from 7.5 sacks to 1. Tackles for loss way down. Tackles were down. Quarterback hits way down. Everybody was expecting Kenny Clark, who made the Pro Bowl in 2023, to really benefit from the switch to a 4-3 defense under Jeff Hafley. Instead, he became invisible for long stretches. Now, I believe he was playing through some injuries that hampered him, but this was just a disappointing season for Kenny Clark, and that was right after he signs that big contract. So, obviously the Packers hoping he has a bounce back year next season. And if he doesn't, that will most likely be his final year in Green Bay. Big fan of Clark's, but he's got to play better than he did in 2024. Best game of the year, there was no signature win for the Packers in 2024. There was no game where they played an elite opponent and beat them. A year ago, you could talk about the playoff win over Dallas, the win over the eventual Super Bowl champion Chiefs, the win over the Lions on Thanksgiving in Detroit. There were a lot of meaningful wins last year that sort of told you this team was on the right track. If I have to pick one game, it would be the shutout over the New Orleans Saints, 34-0 in Week 16. Why? First shutout in the entire league. So, that's a rarity, and the offense really played well. Also, it was probably the team's most complete game, but it did come against a Saints team that was really banged up, didn't have a lot of their key players, and had nothing to play for. So, I'm not overwhelmingly thrilled with it, but there really was no signature win over the course of this season. Worst loss of the year, I'm going with Week 18 against the Bears. The Packers just came out flat. They didn't seem to know, should we rest people? Should we go all out? Should we play our starters for a half and then pull them? And they just didn't seem prepared to play, got off to the slow start. Christian Watson gets hurt. Jordan Love gets hurt. it just ended up being an absolute mess. And overall, you also lose that winning streak against the Bears. Not the way you wanted to end the season. Hurt the team mentally and emotionally heading into the playoffs. So that has to be the worst loss of the season. And then for the Unsung Hero Award, the player who, you know, made some contributions, but maybe wasn't a starter and really stepped up and surprised a lot of people. How about Malik Willis? Won the only 2 games he started, put up really good numbers, and had to start less than 3 weeks after he even arrived in Green Bay. So you got to give credit to Malik Willis. Completed 74.1% of his passes, threw 3 touchdowns, did not throw an interception, had an 10.2 yards per attempt, and a quarterback rating of 124.8. Got to give a lot of credit to Malik Willis, and he won both starts, came off the bench to lead the team to another win against Jacksonville. He really surprised a lot of people, and to me, he is the unsung hero for the Green Bay Packers this year. Do you have an opinion on some of these awards? Are there different people that you would vote for? Well, check out our poll on our YouTube page, number 1, to vote for the defensive MVP. And feel free to mention in the comments who you think maybe should have won these awards and why. I'm Gil Martin. Don't forget, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell so you get new episodes as soon as they come out. And check out our website at thepackerspost.com. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching the Daily Packers Post. And of course, go Pack Go.